Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We start Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa bis-salah ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa nahmiduhu subhanahu wa ta'ala wa nashkuruhu alladhi hadana lihadha wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Now this is part 2 in lesson number 4, and let's continue what we were saying. We were saying what differentiate the lengthened letters from each other if they share the same articulation area, which is the empty space in the throat and the mouth. They share the same articulation area. So what can differentiate them from each other? So let us see. Is it the characteristics? Let us see. And just as a reminder, remember when we talked about whispered or apparent? Mahmusa am majhura. Remember the angles that we talked about? We started with this one. Is it strong or soft or in between? Shadida am rikhwa am bayniya. And I will just remind I will remind you regarding these. We were talking about here, for example, is the sound allowed to run in the makhraj or not? If not, it's strong, it's shadida. If yes, it is rikhwa, soft. If it runs a little bit, and that is the letters of Lin, Omar, then it's in between. And we also talked about the vibrations and the air that is accompanied with the letter. Is there any vibration in the letter? Is there any air accompanied with the letter? And the letter can either be apparent or whispered, harf majhur or mahmus. And also we talked about the direction of the sound, right? Does it go up and strikes the upper palate? What happens? Is it elevated or is it lowered? Are these letters huruf musta'liya am mustafila? Do they have the same characteristics or each one differs? Now let us have a try here. And first, are the lengthened letters huruf majhura? Are they apparent or are they whispered? And remember how we did this? Try to put your fingers on the throat as we did this before and observe. Let's pronounce them and let us see. Now, and as I mentioned before, we are going to say the letter in sukoon, the alif or the waw or the ya. So we are going to put a letter before them, and this letter has a fatha. And as we said, has a fatha or a dhamma or a kasra. And as I mentioned, we're going to put hamzat wasl, so it becomes a hamza. So we are going to say now, at the beginning, you're going to feel the vibration of the letter hamza. But after this, when we lengthen it, is there going to be vibration or not? One of the letters will have vibration or all of them the same? Let's try. Put your fingers on the throat and say, Do you feel vibration? Or is there air accompanied with the letter alif? Let's try the letter wow. Ooh. I feel the vibration in both. What about the ya? E. Same thing. Do you feel the vibrations in the throat if you put your two fingers around the throat and start pronouncing? There is a vibration. So these letters are huruf مجهورة. So when we say that they have jahr, okay, character, means that they are not whispered, right? We said it's either this or not. So no airflow is accompanied while we are pronouncing the 3 lengthened letters. طيب, let's move to the second characters. Are they hard letters, حروف شديدة, or are they soft, رخوة? Maybe they are in between. Let's have a try also. Let's pronounce them again. Ooh. Of course they are not حروف شديدة, because الحروف الشديدة, the makhraj does not allow, the exit does not allow the lengthening, the running. So we know that they are حروف رخوة. They run. And they are not بينية, they're not in between. Why? Because they have this ability to run. The hard letters, their sound immediately terminates in its specific exit, while the in-between have a short running time. But those letters, they have a long running time, so this means they have rakhawa. They are soft. Their sound runs noticeably. And it's the same case with all 3 letters, the alif, the waw, the ya. Now we know that the lengthened letters share the same exit area. They share the apparent character, jahr, and also the rakhawa, the softness. Okay, so they share here majhura and rikhwa. What about the sound direction? Let's see. But I don't mean the sound direction in general. I mean, does the sound moves upward and strikes the upper palate, so they become elevated letters, or are they lowered letters? Do they have isti'la? Do they have elevation, or istifal, lowering? Do we say wa? No, we say wa. Do we say ya? No, we say ya, a. Okay, so the alif and the waw and the ya are huruf mustafila. There's an important note that I need to mention here. What is the difference between التفخيم والاستعلاء? What's the difference between both? When I say magnification and elevation, what's the difference between those 2 words? التفخيم, which is magnification, and elevation is الاستعلاء. And also, what's the difference between الترقيق والاستفال, thinning and lowering? What is the difference? Do we always say حرف مفخم, or do we also use مستعلي, elevated and magnified? Is there a difference in the meaning? When we say حرف مرقق, and we also say حرف مستفل, so when do we use this word and when do we use that word? Let's have a look. Magnification is what happens to the letter sound when its sound elevates. Concentrate. I'll say it in Arabic. التفخيم هو نتيجة استعلاء اتجاه الصوت في الفم فيصبح الحرف صوته مفخم. Magnification is what happens to the letter when its sound elevates. So the sound elevates, causing the letter to be magnified. And the same with the thinning. Thinning is a result. This is what happens to the letter when its sound direction lowers. Okay? So when we ask and say, what are the letters of magnification? What are the letters of tafkhim? And the reply is always khussa ضغط قذ or qadh. Okay? Is this a correct answer? I wonder, is this a correct question? Let's have a look. A wrong question leads to a wrong answer. And if the answer is khussa ضغط قذ, so where does the ra stands in the answer? The lam in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And what about the alif? Now listen carefully to what I have to say here. The kha, for example, the kha is an elevated letter. The kha with a fatha, with a kasra, with a dhamma. It is harf musta'li da'iman. It's always an elevated letter, meaning its sound direction in the mouth is always elevated, striking the upper palate, as explained before when we explained these characters before. But magnification and thinning, التفخيم والترقيق, is an occasional character that accompanies the letter sometimes and leave it the other times. So accordingly, when I mentioned the alif letter originally is a lowered letter, harf mustafil. But magnifying it is not always. It's not always magnified, this alif. I can't say this letter is harf mufakham, the alif, because sometimes it's mustafil, it's lowered, and sometimes it's elevated. So it's in certain areas elevated, and in other areas it is lowered. When it's preceded by a magnified letter, then it's elevated. Okay? So let's conclude that all lengthened letters are lowered. Even the alif. Okay? هي حروف مستفلة. But the alif, as an exception, if it is preceded by حرف مفخم, then it becomes elevated. Okay, I hope this is understood. So, all the lengthened letters, they are حروف مجهورة, they are حروف رخوة, حروف مستفلة, and حروف منفتحة. Let's explain this. Now, don't forget, same articulation area, the empty space in the throat and mouth, okay? And they share the same characteristics. They are apparent, they are soft, they are lowered, and they are opened. What do we mean by opened? Maybe this is the first time we mention it. I'm not sure. It's opened while pronouncing the three letters and not closed against the upper palate, as in al-huruf, huruf al-itbaq. You know, the sa, the da, the ta, dha. They are huruf itbaq. This means that the tongue goes upwards, closes against the upper palate. Okay, these are huruf mutbaqa. But all the other letters are huruf munfatiha. They are opened letters. Okay. Okay. So now we know the three letters, they share the same articulation area and they share the same characters. And the question is still unanswered. What differentiates the lengthened letters from each other? We still didn't have an answer. And let's observe. To answer the previous question, we need to observe what accompanies the vocal cord vibration in each of the three letters separately. Okay, concentrate with me. They all share the same articulation area and they all share the same characteristics. Why do they sound different? In the case of the alif, what accompanies the vocal cord vibrations? We notice that the mouth is opened and the tongue is in its resting position. When we say ba, the tongue is in its resting position and the mouth is open a little bit so that the sound runs. Okay. What about the ya? If I say B, the vocal vibration is common in the three letters as they are apparent. But what accompanies the vibration with the letter ya? We notice the lowering of the lower jaw and elevation of the middle tongue. The middle tongue elevates in the makhraj of the letter ya. So we say B. We notice that the lower jaw is lowered and the middle tongue elevates upwards. Let's compare between the sound, path, direction of the two letters. La, this is the alif. Li. In the alif, the sound heads upwards, a little bit upwards, not elevated, but it just heads upwards. It does not strike the upper palate, it doesn't have any of the three conditions that we talked about them for the elevated letters. But in the alif, the sound heads upwards. In the ya, the sound goes downwards because the lower jaw goes downwards and the sound goes downwards because of the middle tongue. Okay. What about the waw? What happens? Let us say lu. The furthermost tongue rises. I want you to observe. I want you to say after me. Say lu. And what about the lips? The lips are rounded. Okay. So now we can answer the following question. What differentiates the lengthened letters from each other? The answer is the position of the tongue, the lower jaw, and the lips while pronouncing each one of the lengthened three letters. And in Arabic it's called كيفية التوضع. The way those parts are when we pronounce the alif and the ya and the waw. Does the jawf have specific exits? No. The three letters run through the jawf that has one general exit. They all share the same characteristics, but they differ because the position of the tongue, lower jaw, and the lips while pronouncing each one of the lengthened letters, 3 letters, is different. And this is what differs these letters from each other. Okay? By this we finish the Jawf letters, and we are going to continue in the coming part, inshallah, the throat letters in the following sections. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.